Right. So the next one is um, insert the font size itself. We have seen font family, font size, the font weight. Font weight is nothing but increasing the thickness of the character. Okay, this is nothing but bold in HTML. Okay, the next one is font style. Here you can find italic style, regular style, something like that. Okay, and font variant. Let us see all these things now. Mm, So I'm going to apply font weight. If you want to make this to be bold, you can have some what we call enumerated values, enumerated property values like bold, bolder, initial, inherit, lighter, normal. All these things are there. Not only that, you do have what we call a range of numbers that are given in this particular font weight, 100, 200, so that we can increase a little bit. We can increase the font the thickness of the character in a very sharp manner. Okay, so let's go for this particular thing. Actually, in our browser, latest browsers, the font weight only supports bold and lighter. So let me show that. Open browser. See, the paragraph is in bold state. Okay, so if you change this to lighter, it will be light in font. Okay, it's a more less thickness. I can have something normal. There is no much difference between lighter and normal. Okay. Actually, in the previous browsers, what we have is we do have a separate variation for the normal, lighter, as well as the bold. But now there is no much difference between a bold, bolder, light, and normal. Okay. Bold is means much thicker. Okay, more thicker. Bold, you don't find much difference here. Okay. Whereas along with this, you can apply some numbers as well. 100, less, no bold, 500 or 400. Up to 400, you don't find any change in the character. See, okay, 500 is also not applying. Let me make this to 700. Refresh the page. Now you can find something like that. Let us apply these things for the what we call header text. H1. No, header is okay. I want to make this to be 100. See, this is a less what do you call 100 in style. Let me go for normal. This is normal. Lighter. You don't find much difference for um, lighter and normal, bold and bolder here. Okay, in previous versions you do find such kind of things. Okay, so that is about the font weight, and you have something called font style is also there. Font style you have italic, okay, and normal. You find italic state. Something will be there. I think oblique. Yeah, oblique will be there. Oblique is somewhat much you'll find some difference between oblique and italic. Now you can see this is an italic state. When I refresh the page, this is an oblique. Okay, I'm not sure what kind of difference there might be. It's a thickness of the character, or it might be itself. Now it has italic state as well as the some much thicker than the italic state. Okay, now you can see Control Z for this. Now you can see that. Well, some kind of difference, and you can find some slight angle change, all those things we have here. Okay, so that is about font weight and font style. I'm not sure about font variant. I think caps lock, all those things we can use. Right. Small caps. See, this is small caps. This will be something like this is not caps lock, capital letters or capitalize. Let me go for something like font family. just go for this as a capital letters. You can find the difference. Area heading. Now refresh the page. Now this is capital letters. Mm, I want to make this to be, just a second, I want to, we just given heading. Okay, it's already in font. Now if you remove this, you do find some bigger characters now. Okay, it's showing like this. Mhm. Small caps in the sense it will be completely separate with the remaining characters. I want to make this to be, how do I do that? Let us apply this to a paragraph. That's small caps. Now you can see the first letter is in a regular capital letter. The remaining letters are small caps. Even though all are capital letters, but you do find some difference between this letter and this letter. Okay, if you go for font, sorry, text transform to uppercase, this is different. Now refresh the page. This is different. All are capital letters. All are with same size, same capital letters. Okay, this is different. That is about the font, small caps, font variant. The next one is font face. The font face is used to create custom font, which is available in CSS3. So for this, what I'm going to do, you need to download some fonts before this, okay, and you need to store them in your local machine. So what I'm going for is fonts, download fonts free. Let me go for this. My internet is very slow. So here I do find some fonts. Okay, you can download it. Let me go to this when Ginga for download. I'm going for this. Let me download this. hmm Go to download page. No download page. I can take this. Where is my location? This is. You can take this one. Open content folder. Now what you do is inside your work location, create a new folder called fonts. Okay, inside that, copy your G file, extract it. Okay, now extract it. If you want, you can remove the file, and you do find a font of type. Now this font is of type called true type font. Okay, there are different kinds of font families are there. I mean, sorry, font types are there. For the time being, let us take it as a true type font, TTF font. Okay, so what you do is just go to your work location. We do have a font file structure. Now you can use font face. This is the CSS property I can use. Okay, there you find some, sorry, SRC. URL. Inside this, you just locate the font family, font slash. You already there in CSS folder, right? This is the CSS file. So the thing is, first this typography.css is there inside CSS. You need to come out of the CSS and you have to access this fonts folder and you have to get into this Ginga file, right? So for this purpose, in order to come out of the CSS folder, you have to use two dots. So this is nothing but a backspace, just like back navigation. See, I do have something like this. When I press backspace, it's going forward and backward, right? So two dots is used to represent, to move the cursor, uh, to change the directory one folder back. So font, Ginga, okay, and this is another folder. What's the folder name for Ginga.tf? TTF. I think we need to give capital letter Ginga.ttf. This is the location, font face, and you give the name. One second. Okay, and this font face has some more properties. Now you can see that. What was that? CSS3 generator. CSS3 generator. Click on this. We have font face. Okay, so you just type the font family, test, and font name, something like true, something like. Now uh, you have to use all these kind of what we can call. The first one is font family. You have to use, or you can use later on. There is no much difference. You can use here font family. It will be what the name we can give, that is Ginga, and we have an SRC attribute is there. Inside that I just copied the true font, and you need to place an @ in front of this font face. Okay, now go to this. Where is my H1? This is okay. I'm going to give some regular font family. Font family. Inside this, you provide the name Ginga. That's it. Okay, so that is very simple. You just take your complete the font face property and then use that name in the font family. Let us try this one. Okay, I just want to make this to be open in the browser. Yeah, I do got heading. I'm able to get my own font, a custom font you can have. This is one simple thing that you can do with your CSS3 to change the fonts. Always use SRC and font family. Okay, you are assigning a name to this particular font and then you are using that one here. Okay, so that is about your fonts, font styles. Yeah, the next category of CSS properties are CSS Box Model Properties. Okay, I'm going to categorize them as CSS Box Model Properties. Let's save this. CSS Box Model dot HTML. Inside CSS, we have something called box model dot CSS. Okay, now close this one, close this one. Okay, CSS box model. I can use a link. We have a CSS box model. Okay, so you do have something like H1 heading. I'm just placing that a heading, and Okay, that's fine. Let me take a paragraph as well. Yeah, this is a regular fonts and regular text. Along with this, I just want to create one div element after this, a div. So generally, a div is a container which can hold some other elements inside of it, right? So, and div is a block level element, so it will occupy entire width of the browser. Okay, and height is automatic. I just created a div. After this, I just want to place a class is equal to box. I just added a class attribute called box. Okay, now come to this particular CSS model. Use the class name as a selector dot box. I just want to. It's a block level element, so you can define width and height for the block level elements. It's possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm just placing some what you call width as 100 pixels and height as again 100 pixels. Got it? And I'm going to add some border, 1 pixel. Of course, I haven't discussed about the border properties for you. Okay, for the time being, just take this as a simple property. I'm just applying a border of thickness 1 pixels. Okay, there is some kind of style called solid, and I'm going to add a color if you want. I'm going to add a black color over it. So a black color border. Now let me go for this and refresh the page. You got a box. One thing we need to remember here in HTML, every HTML is defined or created as a rectangle box. Every HTML is created as a rectangle box. Rectangle box. So if it is a rectangle box, we can define width. Okay, we can define height. We can draw some border, right? We can apply some what do you call background color of the box. We can apply the background color. What we can do for this rectangle box, we can apply color, width, height, okay, and space around the box. Space around the box, okay, space within a space around the content of the box. These are generally referred as margin. This is referred as padding. And now I can show you what I'm going to do here is I just want to add a name box or some kind of box. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's a center. It's not center. It's a top right corner, top left corner, right? So we need to make it the horizontal center. Now, so in order to move your text inside a particular box, we can make something like we can make use of where is that? I'm sorry. Text align. This is a horizontal centering. So I just moved my box content to the center of the horizontal center of the this particular div box. I want to make this to be what we call vertical center. So in order to do that, there is a property called padding. Padding is nothing but a space that is going to be provided around the content of the box. Now this
Okay,
is my box.
padding is this.
Yes, yes. Okay. So this is the box. I'm just wanna add some space around it on the top direction so that it can move in the vertical direction. That is the indirect way of doing moving an element to the center, vertical center. So what I'm going to do, generally padding can be applied in different varieties, different ways. So when we are talking about a space around the content, so the space can be added in all direction, top, bottom, left and right. So you can provide those values as individual individual values and to be separated with the space 10 pixels. So if I consider a box, okay, these values can be, this is the 10 pixels will be at the top direction. Okay, this 10 pixels will be this. I mean, I just moving when you are adding like this, the padding values. Okay, so this will be applied in a clockwise direction: top, right, bottom, and left. That means top, right, bottom, and left. Okay, that is the direction. Always remember the clockwise direction. So let me check this. See, I can find some space around the space in the top direction. Even though we do have 10 pixels here and here, but we are not able to identify it. But the problem with the padding is, if you observe, box size. If you want to calculate the box width, okay, generally you have given a box width of 100 pixels, but with the when we add a padding, a space around the content, okay, that will be added to the box width, so the box size will increase. Okay, so this is not actually what the web developer wants. Okay, why? Because they want to fix the width to be 100 pixels, that is given as a width, but when we add a padding of 10 pixels, okay, so it is affecting the regular size of the box. Okay, so what we do that? So every time we need to do some calculations in order to make it to be exact 100 pixels width. So I have added, so generally box width will be calculated like this: the regular width plus padding, what we can call padding left. You need to count like this: padding right plus border left plus border right plus, okay, you can add margin left plus margin right. So when you are going to creating a box, you need to think about the padding left and right, border left and right, margin left and right. That will be added to your box width. So now when I open this, when I'm trying to inspect it, now just go for this. You can find the rectangle shape of box for this particular div section. Now you can see when I click on this, this is the thing. Now actual width of the box is 100 pixels, 100 by 100 pixels, but there is a space around the content, right? 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 10 pixels. Because of that, now you can calculate the width. Width is 100 pixels plus 10 plus 10, 20. That means 120 plus 2 pixels border, both in left and right direction. So what is the actual width now? It's 122 pixels. In the similar, in the same way, you can find the height also. 100 plus 120 plus 2. That means 122 pixels of height. But actually what I want is it to be 100 pixels. Okay. So similarly, I just want to change this to be, okay, it's height. If it is the bottom, it to be really padding left. I'm sorry. When we are going to calculate the height, you need to think about the padding top, padding bottom. Okay, now this is the thing you can find. So when I add a padding of 10 pixels, your box width is going to be increased to 120 pixels. You have added a border of 1 pixels around the box, so you need to count the border in both left and direction when you are going to calculate the width. So if you want to make your box to be exact 100 pixels, you need to subtract those pixels here. So 10 plus 10, 20, you need to subtract 20 pixels from it. So it will be 80. Along with this, you need to subtract 2 pixels. So it will be 78. So the width will be 78 pixels now. I'm sorry, exact 100 pixels along with padding and what do you call border. Similarly, for the height calculation also, I'm going to make this to be 78 pixels. Refresh the page. Now you can see that this is 78 plus 20 plus 2, almost 100 pixels. This is 100 pixels box. Okay, so by using padding, okay, when we are going to add a padding, it is going to affect our width and height. When we are going to add a border, it's affecting your width and height. Similar for the margin as well. Okay, so there is a new property that is allowed in CSS in order to adjust the internal space or internal content space around the content without affecting the width and height. Okay, there is some CSS3 property that will be discussed later. For the time being, so when we add padding and margin, it will affect the original size of the box. Okay, I want to bring this to the center. And by the way, padding can be given different ways. As a four valued property, this is four valued property. You can give two valued property like this. This is also fine. So in this two value, this will be top and bottom, and this will be left and right. Okay. So you are giving top and bottom as 10 pixels. Left and right will be, let me change this to be 20 pixels. It's affecting. Okay. You can give one valued property like this for the padding. All directions 10 pixels. Okay. And along with this, if you want to apply the padding individually, then you can have something called padding left, padding right, padding bottom, something like that. So here I'm going to take this to be padding top of 10 pixels. Let's try. Unfortunately, if I remove all the space around in remaining directions, okay, so the size is going to be shrink. So what I want to do is I just want to make the width to be 100 pixels. Why? Because I'm not applying the padding in left and right directions. I need to take care about this one. This is fine. This is to be 98 pixels. 98 pixels. This is fine. This is 100 pixels. Width is 100 pixels, so height is not 100 pixels, right? Padding top we have given, padding bottom we haven't provided. Now this is 100 pixels. Let me increase the padding in order to make this to be center. In order to do that, inspect it, go for the padding top, and just increase it. I want to make this to be. This is very difficult to arrange every time such kind of cryptic numbers, right? So that is why we have a new property in CSS3. For the time being, I just want to calculate in a different manner. Actually, we have 88 pixels, right? Already we have 10 pixels. Let me do this. Let me take this to be 98 pixels. 98 pixels. From that, if you want to make this to be center, see, 100 divided by, you need to be a center of 50 pixels. Okay. Uh, if I 98 plus 2 pixels, this is 100 pixels, right? So 100 by 100 divided by 2, that will be 50 pixels. So if I move 50 pixels, let's see what happens. Oh, I need to reduce this to be 48. This is 100 pixels. But your what do we call the content, you can find more space in the top, less space in the bottom. So it's not exact center, right? So what you do is, uh, what is the size of this box? Generally, every text will have. Your browser default for the text will be 16 pixels. Okay. So for this, what I'm going to do, subtract 8 pixels from it. Okay. What I can do, if I subtract, it will be 42. This will be 48. Now what will be the case? Let me check this to be 90. It's 90, right? I need to increase this to be 56, I think. No, it's a 98. So now it's exact. Now almost it's centered to the box. Okay. If you take this See, actually I applied margin in top direction 10 pixels. This is 10 pixels, this is 10 pixels, this will be 10 pixels, and this will be 10 pixels. Of course, for this box we have a margin of 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 10 pixels. So if we add margin for this particular box is in that means for this box one is 10 pixels bottom, okay, and as well you added 10 pixels top for this box 2 as well, right? So total you need to get 20 pixels, but unfortunately it will show only 10 pixels. This is one of the important questions that you have to do. So when we apply margin, margin bottom for one box, margin top for another box, so both will not be added together. Both will be showed same. It is going to share the same space between the element. Okay. Now let us make this to be in a different manner. I'm going to use one more property that you don't know, that is called float. Float. I just want to add something like this. Now you can see you can find 20 pixels. I just make the boxes to be floated by using a float property. I'll talk about this one later on. So because of this, the second box come aside of this box one. Okay, so you can find 20 pixels between these two, top padding, sorry, margin right plus margin left. So totally you will get 20 pixels here. Okay, so what we understand is the final conclusion for this is uh, margin in vertical direction will not be added. Margin in vertical direction for two boxes, two or more boxes, will not be added together. It will share the same space. Okay, so if it is one has margin of 20 pixels, other has 10 pixels, it will share 20 pixels. Okay, so such kind of thing you need to understand. This is very important. You will get an integration like this. Okay, the next one is one more important property that we need to remember is it's not possible, what we can say, okay, margin and padding properties will not be inherited from the parent. Are you getting? So if a parent element has a margin of 10 pixels, let us suppose here I'm taking a body element. If I go for 50 pixels of margin for the parent element, so generally what we learn from the previous classes is if a parent has some properties that will be derived into the child property, right? So whatever the values that we have, the same values will be reflected to the child until unless we change it. Okay. So except for margin and padding, why? Because margin and padding properties will not be inherited from the parent to the child. So this is another important property that you need to remember. So if this kind of margin will not be applying to the child element, why? Because that is not a rule in CSS. Okay.